The wind howled across the rocky ground, cold and sharp like a knife. A small body lay curled in the shadows behind the alien outpost, shaking with fever. Her skin was pale and damp, her breath weak and slow. She didn't move, not even when. The door behind her slammed shut with force. "She's too sick to save," one of the alien guards said as he walked away. "Let her rot. She's no use now." No one argued. No one looked back. She had been strong once, proud even. A young alien girl with silver eyes and soft purple skin, trained in service to her noble house. But the sickness came, silent and cruel. Her owners tried to treat her, but when her condition worsened, they threw her away like trash. Not even a blanket. Not even a name spoken. Now she lay in the dirt, breathing in the dust, her body trembling with cold and pain. Her lips moved, as if to speak, but no sound came. Only a small tear slipped down her cheek. Far off, a human man walked through the junk fields, searching for spare parts. He was not rich. He lived alone in a tiny cabin, far from the city, earning what little he could buy fixing broken machines. He didn't trust aliens, and they didn't trust him. As he stepped near the outpost wall, he stopped. Something was wrong. His eyes narrowed, scanning the shadows. There, behind a metal crate, something moved, slow, weak. He crouched, hand on. His knife? Just in case. But when he saw her face, all tension left his body. It was a girl. It's maybe 19 in her species. Thin, dirty, barely conscious. Her lips were cracked, her eyes glazed. He could see the bones in her arms. She was dying. He looked around. In sight, just the wind, the rusted junk, and this girl. He whispered, "Hey, can you hear me?" She blinked once, slow and heavy. Her mouth tried to move again. "Are you hurt?" No answer. He reached out, touching her forehead, burned against his fingers. "Fever, bad one." He should have walked away. It wasn't his problem. Helping her could bring trouble. The aliens might think he stole her, or worse, accuse him of breaking laws, but he didn't move. Instead, he pulled off his jacket and wrapped it around her shivering body. She flinched, barely awake, but didn't fight. "You're freezing," he muttered. "Why did they just dump you out here?" She didn't answer. Her eyes closed again. He looked down at her, then at the empty path behind him. He had nothing to offer her. No medicine, no real food, no warm bed. But he couldn't leave her there. Not like this. With a heavy sigh, he picked her up in his arms. She was so light, it scared him. It's like lifting a bundle of bones and skin. She made a soft sound, almost a whisper. Maybe she thought she was dreaming. "Easy now," he said gently. "I've got you." Carried her across the scrap field. The wind fighting him with every step. His legs burned, but he didn't stop. His cabin was small and hidden in the trees. He kicked open the door and rushed inside, placing her gently on his old couch. He threw more wood into the heater and grabbed the last blanket he had, as the room warmed. He brought her water and soaked a cloth to wipe her face. She moaned softly, turning her head. "You're safe now," he whispered. She opened her eyes just a little. Silver, glowing faintly even in her weakness. Her gaze locked with his. For a second, the world felt still. Then her eyes rolled back. She passed out again. The man sat back, rubbing his face. What have I gotten myself into? She was alien. She was sick. And clearly, someone wanted her gone. If they found her with him, things could get ugly. But looking at her again, so small and broken, he knew he had already made his choice. He wouldn't let her die. Not while she was under. His roof not, while he could still do something. He stood, grabbing his medical kit and pouring warm broth into a cup. She needed care, and maybe, just maybe, she needed someone to believe she was worth saving. The room was dark, except for the soft orange glow of the old heater. The wind outside still pushed against the windows, but inside. It was warm now, safe. She lay there under a blanket, eyes closed, breathing slow and weak. The man sat beside her, holding a spoon of broth, his fingers shaking just a little. He had done everything he could, boiled clean water, cleaned her wounds, and gave her his last packet of food. but the fever still burned inside her. She needs a real doctor, he muttered, staring at her pale face. But if I take her in, they'll finish what they started. His jaw tightened. No, he couldn't risk that. Then she moved, her eyes opened. Silver. Bright. Scared. She tried to sit up, but her body failed her. She looked around in panic like a hunted animal. Hey, easy, the man said quickly, setting the spoon down and raising his hands. You're safe here. I found you near the junk fields. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. You were freezing, he said softly. You almost died. She stared at him, confused. Her throat was too dry to speak. But there was something. In his voice, calm, not angry, not cruel, she pointed weakly at herself, then looked away as if ashamed. He followed her eyes to the metal tag still clipped to her neck. Numbers. Just numbers. No name. He leaned forward, pulled it off, and tossed it into the fire. She gasped, watching it melt. You're not a number, he said. You're not trash. She stared at him in silence. I'm Kale, he said, pointing to himself. Kale. Blinked. Then, slowly, she pointed to herself again, struggling to say something. Her mouth opened. A broken whisper came out. Not her real name, but a single word in her language. Rin. Kale smiled.
Oh, Rin.
That's better than numbers. She stared at him as if hearing her name for the first time in years. Kale gave her more broth, feeding her with care. She drank slowly, trembling. Why did they leave you? He asked gently. Ron looked away, face tight with pain. Kale didn't push. He just nodded and said, You're safe now. No one's throwing you away again. That night, he didn't sleep. He sat by her side, making sure her fever didn't rise too high. He changed the cloth on her forehead, adjusted the blanket, checked her pulse with shaking hands. When morning came, she was still breathing. Alive, that gave him hope. Days passed, she got stronger. She could sit up now, even walk a few steps with help. Her voice returned, soft and low, but full of life. She told him how she was born in one of the noble houses, raised to serve. She never had parents, just trainers. And when she got sick, they said she was useless, broken, not worth healing. Didn't want disease, she whispered one night. They wanted perfection. Kale said nothing, just passed her a cup of warm tea and looked at her with eyes that didn't judge. She stared at him for a long time and asked, What? Why did you help? Me. He thought for a second, then said, Because no one else did. Rin began to help him around the cabin. Just small things, folding sheets, cooking simple food. Cleaning his tools, she worked with care, always watching his face for approval, as if she was afraid to displease him. One day, Kale paused and looked at her. You don't have to earn your place here, Rin, he said. This is your home now. She froze, eyes wide. No one had ever said that to her. He stepped closer. You're not a guest. You're not a slave. You're Rin. That's enough. She bit her lip, trembling, and said, Then can I ask something? No. Of course, can I sleep on the floor near the heater? She whispered. I get cold at night. Kale blinked in surprise. You don't have to sleep on the floor. You can take the bed. But that's yours. I'll take the chair. He said firmly. You need real rest? She stared at him like he was some kind of strange creature. Then she smiled. A real, small smile. It changed everything, but peace never lasted long on this world. That evening, Kale returned from a supply run with his coat torn and his face bruised. Rin rushed to him, helping him sit. What happened? They followed me, he said, gritting his teeth. Guards, they know someone's hiding you. Rin's face went pale. Did they see you bring medicine? She asked. Kale nodded slowly. Her hands shook. Well, come here, Kale. They'll kill you for this. He looked at her, calm and certain. Let them try, he said. But his voice held no fear, only fire. Kale woke to the sound of coughing, not just soft. Dry coughs, but deep choking ones. Like something was stuck inside her lungs. He rushed to the side of the bed. Rin sat up gasping, her body shaking as if caught in a storm, her hands gripped. the blanket tightly. Her skin was burning. He touched her forehead hotter than ever before. Her lips were dry. "I can't breathe," she whispered, her voice barely there. Cale didn't hesitate. He pulled out his last 2 medicine packets from the drawer, the ones he stole from a locked alien container 2 nights ago. He hadn't wanted to use them unless things got worse. Now, it was worse. He crushed the capsule, mixing it into warm water. Rin tried to drink, but she coughed it up, spilling most of it onto herself. Cale held her close, steadying her. "Come on, Rin, stay with me," he whispered. "You've made it this far. Don't stop now." She clutched his shirt with weak fingers. Her eyes begged him not to leave. "I'm not going anywhere," he said, voice firm. He wiped her mouth and gave her another sip. This time, she swallowed. Outside, the wind had stopped, but inside, the tension was rising. He could feel it in his bones. Her fever wasn't just from the sickness. Something was wrong, something deeper. He checked the scanner. Her pulse was too fast, her oxygen low. If she didn't stabilize soon, she'd die right in his arms. Cale grabbed the emergency injector, the one device he swore never to use. It wasn't built for her species, and using it was a risk, but letting her fade without trying was a bigger one. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "This is going to hurt." He pressed the injector to her shoulder and pulled the trigger. Her body jerked, her breath caught, and she screamed. Cale held her tightly, whispering comfort, trying to keep her still. Then, just as suddenly, her body went limp. He panicked. "Rin," he shouted, shaking her lightly. "Rin, talk to me, say anything, eh?" Slow breath left her lips, then another. Her skin started to cool. The injector worked. He fell to his knees beside the bed. Burying his face in his hands, he hadn't realized how close she had come to dying again. He sat there for a long time, only lifting his head when her voice, soft and weak, reached him. "You stayed," she said. Cale looked at her, blinking back. "Emotion, of course I did." She reached out, brushing her fingers against his arm. "They would have let me die. You didn't." Her voice cracked with the truth of it. Cale didn't answer. He just stood and brought her a wet cloth, gently wiping her face. She closed her eyes, finally able to rest. That night, Cale didn't sleep. Again, he stared out the window, thinking about what came next. He couldn't keep her safe here forever. The guards had seen him. Word would spread. Someone would come looking again, but even where Surin's condition was changing, he noticed the signs. Her skin glowed faintly now, not from fever but something else. Her body felt different in his arms, like it was shifting inside. Was it the medicine? No, it was something deeper. Something alive. Rin slept soundly, but Cale saw it now, life returning to her face, color returning to her lips. She was healing, but not just recovering. Something inside her was growing, and that terrified him. In the early morning, Rin opened her eyes and whispered, "Cale,
Oh,
can I ask you something strange?" He pulled a chair close and nodded. "Change," she said slowly. "Will you still care for me?" Cale frowned. "Change how?" She looked away, then placed his hand gently on her belly. Cale froze. It was soft but warm. Warmer than it should be. His eyes met hers, and he knew this wasn't just recovery. Something had begun, I think. "I'm carrying something," she said, tears forming. Cale's mouth went dry. "Rin, are you saying?" "I don't know how," she whispered, "but something inside me is alive." Cale pulled his hand back, stunned. Out of disbelief, alien biology, human contact. It shouldn't have been possible, but here she was lying in his bed, wrapped in his clothes, eyes full of fear and hope. She was carrying life, and it was his. The silence didn't last. 3 days after Rin whispered the truth about the life growing inside her, Cale noticed a drone circling above the edge of the forest. It was quiet, sleek, and painted black, a military model, not one used by civilians. He stepped back into the shadows of the cabin, eyes narrowed, heart pounding. They had found him. Or worse, they were looking for her. Inside, Rin sat near the fire, gently rubbing her stomach. Her skin had gained color, her strength returned. A strange glow shimmered softly under her skin when the light touched her. She looked more alive than ever and more different. Cale bolted the cabin door and shut the lights. Then he went to her and crouched down. "Rin, we need to move," he said quietly. She looked up. "What's wrong?" "There's a drone outside." "A normal one." "They know something." Her eyes widened. "They'll kill us both," he nodded, "unless we disappear first." She stood quickly, wobbling a little, and Cale steadied her. "I'll pack what we need," he said. "Warm clothes, food, my tracker. Disruptor, we'll head to the cave in the northern ridge. It's not much, but they won't find us there." As he gathered supplies, Rin moved around the cabin slowly, her hand never leaving her stomach. She looked out the window once and saw the black drone, still hovering in the clouds. Her body tensed. Not if they knew. What she carried? Cale threw a heavy coat around her shoulders. "It'll be a rough climb, but we'll make it." "Will the baby be safe?" she asked, voice small. He paused, then looked into her eyes. "I'll protect both of you," he said. "No matter what comes." They slipped out through the back, avoiding the trails. Cale's training kicked in, his boots stepped light, his breathing steady, his ears listening for even the softest sounds. They climbed through the thick woods. Branches scratching against their skin, wind biting at their faces. Rin fought to stay strong, though every step cost her more than she let him see. Behind them, the drone moved silently. Watching, waiting, Cale led her to an old mining tunnel, hidden behind layers of vines and broken rock. It hadn't been used in years. Perfect for hiding. Inside, it was cold and damp, but safe. Cale lit a small lantern and helped Rin sit on a rolled-up tarp. "We rest here tonight," he said. "We move again before first light." She nodded, but her eyes were filled with worry. "Why? Won't they stop?" Cale sat beside her, arms resting on his knees. "Because you're something they don't understand," he said. "And people fear what they don't understand." "Then if they find out I'm carrying a child, your child, what will they do?" Cale didn't answer right away. He didn't have to. They both knew. Hours passed. Rin dozed in and out of sleep, her head resting against Cale's shoulder. He stayed awake, alert, hand on his old blaster. Then he heard it boots, several marching in rhythm. They were here. Cale's heart hammered in his chest. He stood, switching off the lantern. "Rin, wake up," he whispered. She stirred, confused. At first, but when she heard the boots too, her eyes filled with panic. Cale pressed a finger to his lips. They crouched in the dark, barely breathing as voices echoed through the tunnel entrance. "Thermal scan confirms heat," one voice said. "2 life forms. Target's pregnant. Orders are to retrieve or terminate." Cale's blood went cold. They knew. He looked at Rin, her eyes filled with tears, her hand over her belly. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small device, his last smoke flare. If they ran now, they might have a chance. He leaned in and whispered, "When I throw this, we move. Stay low, hold my hand, don't stop." Rin nodded. Cale pulled the pin and tossed the flare down the tunnel. It burst into thick smoke, blocking vision, choking the air. Shouts followed. Their running cut them off. Cale grabbed Rin's hand and sprinted through a side tunnel, one he'd used as a boy to escape old cave-ins. The path was narrow, tight, and nearly collapsed in some places, but it led outside toward the cliffside. They burst into the night air, lungs burning, hearts pounding. Behind them, lights flared. Blasters fired. Cale spun and shot one of the pursuers, sending him crashing into the rocks. "Keep going," he shouted. Rin didn't look back. They reached the high ridge just as the moon broke through the clouds below them. More guards were arriving. Too many. Cale scanned the horizon, then spotted it. An old shelter tower just across the gorge. If they could get there, they could trigger the emergency beacon and call for help. Not from the aliens, but from the old human outpost deep in the northern wetlands. It was their only hope. He turned to Rin. "Can you do this?" She looked down the steep path, then at him. "Yes," she said. As long as you're with me? The wind screamed over the cliffs like a warning. Kale pulled Rin close, shielding her from the cold with his coat. They stood at the edge of the rocky gorge, faces lit by pale moonlight, breaths steaming in the air. Behind them, the alien guards shouted through smoke, weapons scanning every shadow. The shelter tower was still far across the broken bridge that hadn't been touched in years. It was old, rusted, and half of it hung by loose cables swaying. In the wind, Kale stared at it, then at Rin's shaking form. "We'll cross it," he said. Rin looked at the bridge, then down at her belly. "If I fall, you won't," Kale said firmly. "I've got you." He tested the first plank with his boot. It creaked, but held. Slowly, carefully, he stepped forward. Holding her hand tightly, every step felt like it might be the last. The boards shifted under them, cables groaned, dust fell into the dark gorge below. Erin held her breath, her eyes locked on Kale's back. Then came the sound they feared, a shout. Behind them, light beams cut through the dark. The guards had found the trail, and they were closing fast. Kale turned. Sharply. Move faster. But the bridge? No time. He pushed ahead, guiding Rin step by step, always keeping one hand locked with hers. Halfway across, sharp crack split the air. One of the cables snapped loose. The whole bridge tilted. Kale fell to one knee, pulling Rin down with him, their bodies pressed to the boards as the bridge swayed violently. "Don't look down," he said through gritted teeth. "Just move." Rin nodded, crawling behind him, her fingers gripping the old rope rails. A blaster bolt hissed past them. Another plank shattered nearby. Kale didn't stop. He reached the far end, pulled Rin the last few steps, then turned and cut the last intact rope with his blade. The bridge swung free, crashing into the cliff below. No one could follow now. He dropped the blade and turned to her. "Are you okay?" She was breathing hard, face pale, but nodded. Double quotes, "Yes, dash, just help me stand." Kale lifted her gently, and together they stumbled toward the shelter tower. It was an old signal base, once used by scavengers and smugglers. Long forgotten, but Kale knew the emergency beacon still worked. He broke the rusted lock and pulled Rin inside. The metal door clanged shut behind them. They were safe for now. Inside, the place was dusty, silent. Machines hummed weakly, powered by ancient solar cells. Kale found the beacon console and flipped the switch. The red light blinked slowly. One signal. Only one chance. Kale set the coordinates. The last known location of the human outpost across the wastelands. He pressed the button. The signal went out. Then the light turned green. Message sent. He exhaled. Finally, Rin collapsed into a corner, holding her stomach. Kale rushed to her side. "What's wrong?" She gave him a tired smile. "He's kicking." Kale blinked. She shrugged. "I don't know how I know. I just feel it." Kale touched her belly, and for the first time, he felt the tiny movement too. A soft thump, a promise of life. They both went quiet. The moment felt unreal. Two broken lives. Standing in a tower that should have been forgotten, carrying a child that should have never been possible. But here they were, together alive, and then a sound, not from outside, from the console. Applied static at first, then a voice unknown signal received. Identify. Kale grabbed the mic. "This is Kale, civilian. Human. I've got a pregnant survivor. We're under threat by alien forces. Request emergency pickup." Silence. Then, understood. Extraction in 12 hours. Hold position. Leaned against the wall, exhausted. Rin looked up at him. "You did it." "No," he said, walking over and wrapping her in his arms. "We did." But outside, storm clouds gathered. 12 hours was a long time, and the hunters were not done yet. Rain slammed against the shelter tower like it wanted to rip the walls apart. Thunder shook the ground, and lightning lit the sky in flashes that made the inside glow for seconds at a time. Kale stood at the narrow window, his rifle loaded and ready. He hadn't rested since sending the beacon. His eyes were locked on the hills below, watching for any movement in the storm. Behind him, Rin curled up in the old storage blanket, her body resting against the console wall. Her eyes were closed, but she wasn't asleep. She was listening too. His breathing, she could always tell when his mind wasn't quiet. "You haven't sat down in hours," she said softly. Cale turned slightly, still holding his rifle. "They could come back any time." "You don't have to fight them all," she whispered. "Yes, I do," he replied. Not blinking, Ariane shifted and sat up, brushing her long hair behind her ears. Her skin glowed faintly in the dark, not from sickness now, but from something warm. And living inside her, she touched her belly gently. "He's growing fast." Cale lowered the rifle for a moment and looked at her, really looked. "How is that even possible?" he asked, voice soft. "I don't know," she answered, "but he's strong. He kicks when you speak. It's like he knows your voice." Cale walked over, kneeled down in front of her, and placed his hand on her stomach. He felt it. That same tiny push. A child. His child, half human, half her, born from something impossible, yet more real than anything in his life. "I never asked for this," he whispered. Aaron looked hurt, but he continued, "But I wouldn't trade it, not for anything." Tears filled her eyes. "I was nothing," she said. "I was left behind, tossed like garbage, and I didn't care if I lived another day. But you looked at me like I was someone." Cale wiped a tear from her cheek. "You were someone before I found you. They just didn't see it." Shh. Smiled through her tears. "You gave me back my name," she said. "And you gave me something I thought I lost long ago," he replied. "A reason to fight, a reason to live." She reached out and pulled him close, their foreheads touching, hearts steadying together. The storm raged outside, but inside, for a brief moment, the world was still. Later that night, Cale heard it, footsteps slow, deliberate. He grabbed his rifle and moved to the window at first. Nothing. Then a flicker of movement near the edge of the trees, shapes in the dark. Not many, 3, maybe 4. Moving through the storm like shadows, he turned to Rin. "They're here." She stood slowly, holding her stomach. "No more running," she said. "We stand together." Cale nodded. He opened the panel on the floor and handed her a small pulse knife. "If they get through, use this. Aim low, strike fast." Rin took it with a steady hand. "Do you think we'll survive?" she asked. Cale looked at her belly, then back into her eyes. "I don't plan to die tonight." He moved to the door, took position, and waited. The first knock wasn't loud, just a soft tap. Cale didn't speak. Then came a second knock, followed by a voice. "Cale, we know you're inside. Give her up. This doesn't have to end badly." Cale gritted his teeth. "You're too late. Help is already coming. Then we'll wait." "But we won't let her live, Cale. That child is an abomination. It cannot be allowed to exist." Cale raised his rifle and shouted through the door, "You're wrong. So that child is the future. And I'll protect them until my last breath." No answer came back. Just silence. Then something hissed outside, a charge being armed. They weren't. Bluffing, Cale turned to Rin. "Stay behind the console. No matter what happens, stay low." She nodded once, then moved behind cover. Hands resting on her belly. The floor vibrated. A blast rocked the outer wall. Smoke rushed in. Cale opened fire. 2 guards fell before they'd even reached the door. The third slipped inside fast, silent, but Rin was faster. She struck with the knife. Slashing his leg, he screamed, dropped his weapon, and Cale finished him with a shot to the chest. The last one ran, retreating into the rain. Cale slammed the door shut and locked it, blood running down his arm from a sharp cut. Rin rushed to him, eyes wide with fear and relief. "You're bleeding, it's nothing," he said, breathing heavy. "You okay?" She nodded, then threw her arms around him. "I thought I lost you," she said. "You'll never lose me," Cale replied. "We're not finished yet." It's outside. The wind began to calm, but far above. The sound of engines echoed through the clouds. A ship help was coming. Rin held his hand tightly. For the first time since her life had shattered, she whispered, "We're going to be all right." Cale smiled. "As long as we're together," he said. They can't take anything from us. The rescue ship broke through the clouds like a silver blade cutting the sky. Kale stood on the ridge, one hand holding the signal flare, the other gripping Rin's hand. Behind them, the shelter tower still smoked from the night's fight. Front of them, the drop ramp lowered, sending out a warm blast of clean, pressurized air. A human officer stepped down in full armor, visor scanning, weapon ready. "You Kale?" The officer asked. Kale nodded. "She's the one I sent the signal for." The officer looked at Rin, weak, shivering, one hand on her swollen belly. His expression changed. "This is her?" He asked again, slower this time. Kale's voice didn't waver. "She's pregnant. She's not a threat. She needs protection." The officer stared a moment longer, then turned and motioned to the medics. "Get them aboard," he said. Rin collapsed in the seat as they lifted off. Her body had fought too hard, too long. Her head leaned against Kale's shoulder. As she whispered, "We made it." "You held on?" Kale replied. "I just followed." She smiled faintly. 2 weeks passed in the human outposts far beyond the Tor's alien-controlled zones. Rin slept in a proper bed for the first time in her life. She ate full meals. Her skin returned to a soft lavender glow. Her voice got stronger. She walked slower now, but with pride. The doctors confirmed it. The child growing inside her was real, live, healthy. It shocked them. No one believed a human and alien could create life together. But here it was, moving, growing, proving the galaxy wrong every day. Kale visited her room every morning before sunrise and every night before sleep. He brought her warm tea, fruit, blankets, but more than that, he brought his voice, his quiet words, his jokes, his presence, and Rin glowed more when he was near. One evening she looked at him differently, he noticed. "What?" he asked. Rin reached out and took his hand. "I'm not afraid anymore," she said. He didn't speak, only watched her with a gentle look. She continued, "I used to think I was nothing. A slave, a mistake, a dying body waiting to be thrown away. But now, I'm a mother. I'm a partner. I'm home." Kale swallowed hard. "You've always been more than what they said." Rin leaned closer. "You've always been more than just the man who saved me." Kale brushed his hand over her cheek. "Then stay with me. When this child comes, stay with me forever." Rin laughed softly. "Where would I go?" The child came under a red sky as twin moons rose together. She screamed, cried, clutched Kale's hand like it was the only solid thing in the world, and he never let go. Hours later, a small cry echoed through the room. Not human, not alien, something new, something both. The nurses froze. Kale stepped forward, eyes wide, and looked down at the child wrapped in soft blankets. Tiny hands, silver eyes, skin the color of early sunrise. Rin reached up, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Is he?" Kale nodded, voice shaking. "He's perfect." He placed the baby in her arms. The child curled against her, calm and warm. Kale sat beside her, and together they watched a new life begin. Years passed, the outpost became a safe place for others like them. Others who crossed forbidden lines. Others who built families. From the ashes of war and cruelty, Rin taught the children alien songs. Kale taught them how to build and fix machines. Their child, part human, part alien, grew stronger than anyone expected. Smarter, kinder. A bridge between two worlds that once hated each other. One night under starlight, Rin stood at the edge of the fields, a child sleeping in her arms. Kale wrapped his arms around her from behind. "Do you remember the day I found you?" he asked. "I remember thinking I was already dead," she replied. He kissed her forehead. "And now," Rin looked at the stars, then down at the little face resting against her chest. "Now I feel more alive than any of them." Kale nodded. Holding her tighter, "They threw you out," he said, "but they didn't know you were a gift." She smiled. "They tried to bury me, but you helped me grow." The wind carried their words across the field, soft and full of life, and far above, the stars blinked, as if the universe had been watching all along.